Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by the head of Wasserman Boxing, Mr. Kalle Sauerland. How are you, sir?
Danny, I am well. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. I'm really looking forward to this big rematch.
Look, I love a big press conference. It was a big press conference today. I think a rematch with a twist. And, you know, we talk rematches are normally close fights. They're normally, you know, can be a scandalous decision. Well, here we've had a result which nobody, and I'd love to someone to show me their betting slip. There probably now will be loads sending in the betting slips, but
Get him on Twitter, at Sauerland Bros.
you could have put Liam Smith before the fight. It was pretty level betting before the first fight. But it was all on points. It was all going a distance. He was the boxer. That was going to, you know, and that didn't happen, did it? You know, the script was rewritten especially after a very good third round by Eubank, and then, you know, he's walked into a barrage, you know, and it is what it is, you know. That's boxing. That's why we put rematch clauses in when we're the A side, and now we are the B side, and I think that will, in a certain way, suit Junior, because he's the wounded lion here, you know. I suppose that that term wasn't used more, but you know, I think I do think he's on the cusp of. Well, not the cusp, it's the wrong word. I'd say he's obviously got a point to prove, but I also think he has that mindset of having the tools to prove it. He's relentless when he wants something. He's also very stubborn, but he made that decision. He had people around him telling him certain other things, and by the way, I'm not even referring to Conor Benn right now. I'm saying maybe, you know, go and have a tune-up, whatever it is. There was a lot of things being said around his team, but it was him. You know, it was him who went off. He told me that in the dressing room straight away, rematch, you know. But that sometimes could change afterwards, you know. So I said, look, go and have a breather with the family, etc. Watch it back, and I don't know if you watched it back even straight away. I think you know, his mind was set the second he left that ring. It was crystal clear in the dressing room. That was it, and you know, game on, you know, more or less. So I disagree with what Ben said up there. It's taken a long time. I said, what? So the first fight was January 20-something, and the second fight's June 20th. So, sorry, 17th. So it's, I think, one of the fastest turnarounds in a big fight I've ever seen, certainly. And don't forget, it was a stoppage ending, so there's also that health part to it. So I don't see why, because there's been rumours of other fights now, suddenly it's been, it's taken so long. No. There's a few fights out there, they're still waiting to get made, you know, years later.
While we can put that down to perhaps the impatience of youth on Ben's side,
absolutely.
How close did you come to going down another route with Eubank Jr. for his next fight? And particularly, we are talking about Conor Benn.
You're talking about Conor Benn, aren't you? I'll use the same cheesy line I've had with everyone else. Yes, we had a flirt. No, there was not concrete offers made to us. No, there were no contracts. Yes, there was a date mentioned. Yes, there was a location mentioned. I don't need to repeat it because everyone else has printed it already. But that's it, Dan. You know, not more than that. You know, and no, yeah.
So then the pertinent question then, if Conor Benn...
Would it also have been realistic to have done it on that date so early and so quick and, you know, in another country? Did we apply? I mean, the proof in the pudding is, did we ever even reach out to the board and ask for a foreign license or to have the license, the permission to box abroad? No, we didn't. So the nature of that is that, you know, if you'd have been in advanced discussions, you would have maybe spoken to someone at the board, no?
Looking into your crystal ball, if Conor Benn hadn't been provisionally suspended by UKAD, Do you think this still would have been Chris's next fight, or do you think he would have gone another route?
Zero implication on this. Zero. In fact, I just asked someone. The UKAD suspension has come out. I thought, it sounds like an LP has come out. I don't know. I mean,
Showing your age there.
But you know what I mean. LP kids. That's something we used to call a record.
Vinyl, kids, vinyl.
A record, vinyl. Turned into CDs, and now it's downloads. No, but joking aside, that was. I think that came out. I was over in the States, and I saw it, but it's got to do with us. I mean, if we would have done the fight, it would have been. It would have to have been legal, obviously. It would have to be with a serious governing body, end of, and it would have had to been with the best, strictest, most rigorous doping program of all time. Those things are the things that would have had to, the boxers would have had to check, and I don't know what relevance that has with a UKAD situation with Mr. Benn. I'd remind everyone that we didn't hear from UKAD or the British Board of Boxing Control for 5 weeks. Now you turn around and say, "Oh, well, it wasn't a UKAD test." No, it wasn't. So why is it UKAD's business then? So. So for 5 weeks, we did not know the results. And Junior was in training, taking punches in sparring, making weight, and we were out spending money on a promotion. So, I don't know.
Just on that, do you attribute any blame to that 5-week delay for Eubank's subsequent defeat to Liam Smith?
No. It's not. It's a good question, but I don't. You'd have to ask Junior, but I don't see that he had a full recovery afterwards. He weighed in, funny enough, at 159. It wasn't a catchweight fight. People keep on asking me, was the Smith fight a catchweight fight? No, it wasn't. It was a 160 fight. And yes, he did turn up at 159. And by the way, the Liam Williams fight before that was at 160, and he also turned up at 159. So maybe we need to make a new weight for Chris at 159. No, that was a pun. It's not going to happen. Well, I know, but not everyone else knows. Yeah. So no, I don't. I attribute it to pretty much what he said up there. He took him potentially a bit lightly. Oh, not potentially. I think he did take him lightly. But I also think that whilst the casual be saying, "Oh, what's he talking about? He shouldn't have stopped the fight," and of course he should have stopped the fight, etc. I think if you look back at it, and you've watched enough fights, Danny, had he gone to the corner, taken the full time, maybe even spat the gum shield out, taken a few more seconds, rearranged the trousers, bought a few more seconds, then, ran straight into a clinch, held on, took a point to focus on, and, every trainer listening will know exactly what I'm talking about. Had he done that and ridden out the storm, could it have been a different? Absolutely. That's not an opinion. Just go look at the fight. He's like a rubber band. He jumps back up and he actually doesn't even want to break. He just wants to go straight back into thing. And it was like a Formula One driver maybe crashing for the first time. It's experience, difficult things to train. Seen all sorts of techniques on fighters. It was David Hay who told me once. He said he used to go on the floor, spin himself around, go up on one leg and try and stand. And these are all sort of things you can't, to practice getting knocked down. And the best can get knocked down. It doesn't make a difference. But it can happen. It's the reaction. It's the time you take then to recover from that.
And just one last thing on the Conor Benn situation, partially. If it wasn't the UKAD thing that came in that forced your hand, if you like, for this fight, what was it that made you choose this fight ultimately, or made Chris?
I can't answer that because the discussion was you want to sit down and talk about it. And again, we all know the venue that we're talking about. We all knew the date that was very public. But nothing came of it. It wasn't our offer to be making. I wasn't out in Abu Dhabi discussing it with a gentleman out there. So it just wasn't a conversation to follow. That's why I said it was a flirt, which didn't materialise into anything. So there's not really much more I can add to it.
If Chris Eubank Jr. does lose once again, particularly if it's in the same fashion as the first time round, is that him finished at this level?
No, Dan, you've been around long enough. Yeah, it's the same opponent. If he went through the weight class and everyone was knocking him out in the fourth round, I'd say, it's a bit of an issue here. Some people have your number, and that doesn't mean necessarily that they're better than you. It's just that's boxing. That's a style that you have difficulties coping with. You see it in other sports as well, by the way. But A, I don't believe that will happen. B, certainly not in that fashion. And C, I genuinely believe we're going to see a fascinating build-up in a way, but that's me talking promoter talk, because that's what promoters do. We build fights up, but cut my shit away and think about it. You've got really this guy with this. He's got a huge amount of pride in you, mate. You don't need to look long at him to realise that. And he's hurt, and that hurt will come out in that ring, and in that training camp. That's where it's not going to win this fight in that ring. He's going to win this fight in that training camp.
And for someone who is so confident, famously so self-assured, and a lot of that's based on the fact previously that he had this iron chin. He was indestructible. Yeah. He now knows he can be hurt, regardless of what went into it beforehand. He knows he can be hurt. How will that affect him?
I was asked before, has his punch resistance gone? I said, what, from yesterday to today? I mean, this isn't a computer game. Yeah, of course, punch resistance does go over time. We all know that. I don't think that's got much to do with it. He walked into a shot that caught him. It was a barrage of punches and a few other things thrown in there as well, which, by the way, I don't even mean in a malicious way. It's what happens when you start unloading and you miss punches and other things connect. Yeah, especially up close. So, look at two Mexicans fight, But it's not meant in a bad loser way. I am one of the worst losers. In fact, I am probably the worst.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
But at the same time, that's not meant in a way to discard.
Can't be a great season for you, can it?
Let's not get on to football. Let's not get on to football. We could talk about Arsenal losing as well, but anyway. It happened. He walked into a shot. As people with the most solid chins in the world walked into shots, of course they have. He walked into a shot. And, fair play to Smith. He didn't capitalise on that. Eubank didn't have that experience of being on the floor, didn't take that time. So I analyse it. Can he do that again? We'll see. In my opinion, he needs to push up that punch volume.
And final question, what's your prediction? You know you're going to pick Eubank, of course, but how does he win?
I think Eubank stops him. And I think he stops him mid-rounds.
Good stuff. Kalle, always a pleasure, mate.